that is all of them. Every named Cappy in town, every Cappy with an ounce of substance to their identity. We've learned quite a lot about these people, good and bad, but those were all on individual levels. And individual accolades hardly do any lifting when, as a collective, everyone still lacks a brain. Just because the mayor is a sweet husband doesn't mean he's automatically absolved of his blatant endorsement of Waddle Dee slavery. That's why I've saved my biggest point of leverage for last. And to introduce my point, I'll ask you to think of the stupidest scene in Cappy history. If you're a regular hater of the Cappies, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but if you aren't, it's still probably pretty easy to figure out if you've watched the show. The beginning half of Cappy Town Down is easily the single biggest point of contention against the Cappies. I never hear any discussion about them that doesn't mention this scene or any of the dozens of scenes like it. Looking at you, Watermelon Felon. This episode starts with all of Cappy Town being leveled in a Destroya carpet bombing, reducing the entire city to cinders and craters. Even though Kirby destroyed the death machine, he didn't do it fast enough to save the city. It's a classic superhero trope. You did everything right, but you weren't fast enough. And now we're all mad at you, even though you were just trying your best. And right on cue, as everyone huddles around the burnt stump of the tree in town square, they all turn to Kirby and ridicule him.
When your ship crashed, we welcomed you to Cappy Town, and now we're paying for it, Kirby!
Yeah, we lost everything because of you!
It was a mistake to let you live here.
Maybe it's time for you to move on.
Yeah, this is all your fault, Kirby!
There is rage, there is sadness, heartbreak, shock, and desperation. Their voices all quiver, helpless and angry and confused. And they believe Kirby is to blame for everything they're seeing, the everything they no longer have. Now why? Why would these people react this way towards Kirby? I've said before, why is my favorite single word question, and I'll ask it until my dying days. Why would the Cappies turn on Kirby, even when he did everything right and save the day? Think about it. No. Better. Think like a Cappy. Your entire city just got leveled to the ground in a massive intergalactic bombing run. Everyone you know no longer has a home, and the idea of getting everything back will take months, if not years, of continuous, laborious time and effort. If you can even handle the grief of how much you've lost, the idea of starting over is even worse. You look around you, and you see everyone you've ever known. Crying, mourning, standing in shock, unable to address you, never once returning your gaze, their eyes returning the light of the fires and the edges of the rubble. Your neighbors all have to reconcile with this reality just as much as you do, and some of them have already lost all hope, or potentially something or someone far worse. As far as you know, your community will never be the same. And because of what? Some massive spaceship? Well, where did the spaceship come from? You don't know! It's not even worth it to question. It's already gone. You can't be mad at something that's already gone. So what can you be upset at? Kirby is the only thing that can come to mind. You can't be upset at the king. He's never had this kind of power before. And if he did, what was stopping him from waiting until now to finally strike? You can't be upset at whatever nebulous entity could have been controlling that saucer, because what can you possibly do about that? It would be useless. Besides, they're only attacking because of Kirby. With the knowledge you have, and all other compounding factors exhausted, Kirby is the most logical choice. You can't just be mad at nothing. You have to be mad at someone. Someone has to answer for everything you're seeing, everything you're experiencing. And if you didn't bother to participate in this metaphor, you'll be looking at my avatar and thinking I'm insane. At the outset, these things are obvious. For 97 episodes now, it's been the same villain since the start. Nightmare Enterprises. That's a no-brainer. But it's easier to blame something tangible and local than something they think is nebulous and distant. This is an intended feeling. This gut-wrenching frustration. This moment sought to put the viewer in the shoes of an activist. Someone who knows why things are the way they are and has to sit there and explain for the 100th time their reasoning why this nebulous governing force is the reason for the cost of eggs being so ludicrously high. Because people never truly internalize it. They hear about a shadow government and they think they have no say in the matter. They can't do anything. And when you feel helpless, you'll turn to anything for even a crumb of relief, even if you're wrong for doing so. None of these villagers are perfect people. They'll go about their lives being awful in ways they can't see. But that's true of everyone, isn't it? We're all evil in ways that we can't see to someone out there. And everyone will inevitably fall into an evil line of thinking if they're not properly informed. The pitfalls of evil are everywhere, and they're easy to fall into. But to err is human, and you will continue to err for as long as you remain out of the loop. Until you are told, shown, or what have you, you will have no idea that something you have done is wrong. And even if you have been told countless times, it's hard to remember something so small when faced with something so soul-crushing. So I don't blame them at all. Believe it or not, they were doing pretty well up until this point, all things considered. The thousands of running continuities in this show tend to get muddy at certain times, and so even in later episodes, the Cappies can be dumber than a box of rocks. But they are trying, and they are getting better. And that's what's important. But they won't stay that way without outside help. The Cappies are a tale of the perils of fighting against a society that always moves one step forward and 2 steps back. It has never been a fun fight, it has never been easy, and it has never been more important. And it has never been a problem exclusive to the realm of fantasy. Even now, I see cultures that used to be full of acceptance and love fall back to the wayside of discrimination and hatred like nothing had been done, despite all the progress we once had. There was a tangible sense of camaraderie, sensibility, an idea that most people understood the core beliefs that we had been fighting for all of our collective lives. And yet, I turn my back, and they begin again the awful cycle of pointless infighting, developing prejudices, and clambering to the hope that one day there will be some meaningful minority by which I may be able to discriminate against without consequence or judgment. That there may be a label that I can call myself that will absolve me of any wrongdoing. It's heartbreaking. There's no better example of this than Curio's advice to Tiff near the middle of episode 28.
Telling the truth can be a very lonely business, Tiff, especially when nobody wants to hear it.
And once again near the end.
The danger inherent in learning a lesson is that what is readily apparent at the outset becomes obscure as time passes, and what was once clear inexorably fades from memory.
Note the completely different line here between the sub and the dub. Sub Curio speaks to the fact that good deeds often go unrecognized by the people it saved. And the worst part is that his cynical remark isn't even just a snide comment. It's the truth. There used to be a massive hole in the ozone layer, a problem the show itself later tackles. It's better now, but people on the street will tell you that it's completely fixed, and everyone who was worried about the ozone layer was an idiot, because it was never really a problem at all. This line of thinking completely ignores the efforts of the hundreds, if not thousands, of climate scientists, workplace regulators, and everyday people who voted and signed bills that slowly worked to improve the ozone layer's condition over multiple decades. It's still not fully repaired. It'll take multiple decades more to get there, but people have not stopped working to improve it, and there are ways that we can help. That is what Curio is referring to. The people who help are often ignored, and their efforts go unrecognized. This was also what happened with the year 2000 problem, or Y2K. Hundreds of engineers and computer experts worked throughout the last 2 months of 1999 to make absolutely sure that nothing would fuck up once the year incremented. Their efforts are ignored too, because the crazies said the world would end and it didn't. And no one bothers to ask why it didn't happen before writing everyone off as overdramatic lunatics. It's hard to say why this line was altered, even harder than the last few I brought up. You totally would have had enough time to say this line and stay in sync with the original audio, but this new line is so much longer. You can even hear how fast Maddie had to talk to cram it all in there. But there's a purpose to this new line that, while only tangentially related to the original text, conveys a different idea that I think was more apt for the show as a whole, rather than just this one episode or scene. Let me read that for you, but slower. The danger inherent in learning a lesson is that what is readily apparent at the outset becomes obscure as time passes, and what was once clear inexorably, or in other words, inevitably, fades from memory. Essentially, Curio is saying that no matter how important a message is, people are going to forget it if they don't hear it, or see it, or otherwise consume it from time to time. It doesn't matter how basic or obvious it is, people have to consume it for them to understand, and the longer they go without consuming it, the less they'll internalize it. And this was a message delivered before the late digital age, a time where a message like this is arguably the most important it's ever been. We have the freedom of the internet at our fingertips at all times. It has become a necessity for work, for leisure, for life. We can choose what messages we consume, at what time, with whoever we desire. We may even be showing a message we deem important to people we care about. That's what I'm doing right now. But because we have that freedom, we also have the freedom to choose what messages we don't engage with. A freedom that certain parties are trying to exploit and claim for themselves. There may very well come a time when an important message is no longer able to be seen by the people who need to hear it, not just by it being censored, but also by it being deleted and unpreserved, or it just not being talked about anymore. Puritans blocking sensitive content that speaks to the human condition, a beloved message lost to time due to creator dissatisfaction or disappearance, an inspiring display that receives no media coverage because it just isn't worth talking about anymore. Everyone knows about this now. I don't have to talk about it. It's common knowledge. You never know how meaningful a message can be until you hear it again. And sometimes you may never get another chance. And you'll forget. You'll forget what it meant. You'll forget how it's told. You'll forget what it could do to anyone who hears it. And people will forget what it did to the world. And everything will suddenly begin to revert. All of this is in service of the fundamental idea that the most important choice you can make in a crisis is where you choose to direct your emotions. What you choose to do with the messages you have kept close to your chest, if you remember them. And that is ultimately what makes the opinion of the Cappies so easy to sway. At the end of the day, all they want to know is who they should be angry at. A very, very common motivation. You've likely seen it yourself, if not directly fallen for it. The message that Right Back At Ya tried to teach you is that this is something worth fighting against. That your neighbors, no matter how stubborn, no matter how ignorant, no matter how obnoxious and hopeless they seem, are worth fighting for, are worth being told the same stories and messages over and over again. No matter how many times the Cappies bought into whatever bullshit DDD was spouting, they were always reminded of his tyranny in some way. Even when the situation was at its most dire, at its most hopeless, things would always turn out okay. But that's only because there were people out there who didn't buy into it and are willing to fight for the good of the world. And you should too. But there's something equally as pressing that feeds into the natural Cappy instinct. Another compounding factor as to why they continue to regress, fall back on old habits, and continue their reactionary ways of conflict resolution. They are all cowards. Midway into the episode, after everyone has been called into Battleship Halberd, they are all given a choice. It doesn't seem like much of a choice, but they are given it nonetheless. They can choose to stay home, or they can choose to join the fight, as a crew member or as combatant. And all of them choose to stay home, even as their home continues to be leveled to the ground, even as Castle DDD now faces the same bombardment. They clamber back to the life they know, even when it no longer exists. None of them are fighters. Meta Knight says as much himself. A backwoods town like this isn't capable of training soldiers. The Cappies are complacent, non-combative, and would rather just return to their normal way of life instead of taking on the powers that be. And they would have stayed there too, if not for the returning Kit Cosmos, who inspires them to return with a big speech and the emotional MacGuffin that is Kirby. With his words, the townsfolk are willing to turn tail a second time and join the fight. Minus a few. Someone has to rebuild the village after all. And this, coupled with the earlier scene at Town Square, cemented the idea in my mind that the Cappies, for how stupid they are, were made that way for a reason. And for as much as I dislike it, I have to respect it. Because it is the most accurate, in-your-face depiction of this phenomena that I have seen in my entire life. I do not have a name for it. No name I can dream up feels fitting enough, but what I do have is a tiny message of my own. It's a message that comes from American writer Robert J. Hanlon, who submitted a heuristic of reasoning to the Murphy's Law book series written by Arthur Block. Its official name is Hanlon's Razor, a philosophical razor meant to shave off unlikely explanations or unnecessary conclusions. You may have heard about it from Occam. Hanlon's Razor says, "Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity." None of the Cappies are doing what they do with any kind of malicious intent. Often, it's for their own benefit somehow. You've slighted me, so I'll slight you back. An eye for an eye. A shared sorrow is half a sorrow. Because when your natural emotional state is disrupted, when something goes wrong and leaves you upset or scared, the first thing everyone will look to do is try to find some way to get their emotions back to normal. It will almost always be a stupid action to take, but at the time, you don't care how it's done. It's what you do when you realize what you've done that determines your character. No one is perfect, but also, no one is impossible. You can turn the heel of anyone and everyone. Some will take more effort, some will need very specific things. Sometimes it will be something so small that moves so many. But it is never impossible. Mob mentality is frustrating, stubbornness always complicates things, and everyone has different levels of tolerance and patience. But when the time comes, and everything finally matters, everything finally falls into place, you will be surprised at how many faces show up to be involved. Even possibly because of something you said. So don't be so quick to write off the Cappies as idiots. They are. But so are a lot of us, including me. And you can surely imagine how long a lot of us had to spend being idiots before we could become who we are after the fact. If you still don't believe me on this front, then I think it's time to draw the final card in my deck. Prediction Predicament, Part 2. Cappy Town's first conversation with complete and total annihilation. The plot of this entire double-episode saga revolves around the town's unifying desire to have a playground constructed for the children of the town. A desire DDD has continuously denied, neglected, or otherwise refused. Part 1 was more directly centered around Mabel's involvement in the matter, which I already covered, kinda, and the resulting smear campaign spurred on by the king. But Part 2 shifts its focus to revolve around the actual source of DDD's nightmares. Some kind of latent clairvoyant vision of an impending stellar object on course to destroy the entire planet. Phantom Star Girath. It's not supposed to crash for 1,000 years more, but Nightmare Enterprises would be delighted to speed that process up. By the time we check in next, the asteroid is set on a new death course that will complete in only a few short days. DDD laughs it off, however, building himself a golden statue in the town square, even as the asteroid draws nearer. As the world around them grows ever more disturbed by the asteroid's looming approach, the Cappies all consult Kaboo, who in no uncertain terms directly confirms their fears, assuring them of the end of the world. Faced with a fact-checked time limit of 48 hours, the Cappies unanimously agree on one thing. They return home, with their loved ones in hand. Even as Tiff begs them not to give up, crying out that there's still time, they all walk briskly back to their normal everyday lives, with the assurance that they've all lived well. There is a clock above their heads, and they have already assumed that there is nothing they can do. Like all Doomsday scenarios, there are 3 angles to see, which I will put through the lens of a very conveniently made Splatoon 3 Splatfest event titled What Would You Do at the World's End? The 3 teams given were Same Old, Shivers Team, which operated under the principle that the time you have left should be cherished, spent with those you care about, and aware that everything will be your last, making it the most important. Bucket List, Fry's Team, which sees the end of days as an opportunity to go wild and crazy with everything you've always wanted to do but never could. The time we have left is just enough, if managed well, to incorporate a lifetime of experiences, making it the most important. And finally, Save the Day, Big Man's Team, which directly opposed the Doom and incentivized its negation, prevention, or escape at all costs. The time we have left is strict but manageable, and with enough hope and perseverance, we could all make it out alive, making it the most important. We can place Tiff and company very firmly on the Save the Day team, and with a bit of stretching, DDD fits nicely on Team Bucket List. I would hardly call skating around in your castle courtyard very life-fulfilling, but it's his bucket list and he gets to put whatever he wants on it. The Cappies have firmly placed themselves on Team Same Old. And now, I understand that a purely hypothetical scenario asked to a shooter fan base of mostly kids and preteens is not the most scientific analysis, but if we look at the numbers, Team Same Old and Team Bucket List were within 20 points of each other by the end, with Save the Day coming in at a staggering last place with only 60 points. Does that sound familiar at all? Maybe you'd rather me tell you about the player count on each team? Well, I would if I had a concrete number for it. Player data isn't exactly easy to come by, and the only number I really have to go off of is the votes percentage, which is technically also the player count statistic. According to those numbers, 50% of all participants were on Team Bucket List, while 29% were on Same Ol' and almost 21% on Save the Day. That is less than a quarter of the total number of people who participated in the Splatfest on Team Save the Day. And this does nothing to tell you how many people picked a team and then never played. I know this because that's exactly what I did. I was losing a lot of steam to play the game around the time of the Splatfest. Anyway, we've been talking about Splatoon for a long time now, and I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say with it. Not many people believe they have what it takes to save the world, should a Doomsday event ever crop up. And in the case of the Cappies, who we know are not particularly daring people who take risks and live dangerously, the idea of creating, much less following a bucket list, does not interest them. Living their last 2 days in as much comfort as they can makes more than a world of sense. However, there is not much comfort to be had. The proximity of the asteroid causes the Boomadooma volcano to erupt, threatening to blanket Cappy Town in lava. The citizens are forced to evacuate to the safe, elevated confines of Castle Deity. Professor Curio looks back on his town, a deep sorrow overcoming him. After bidding farewell to his hometown, he finds himself unable to tear his eyes away, and Chief Bookham is forced to drag him back onto the path of safety. With every Cappy now holed up in the king's castle, they stare longingly at Girath, waiting. Everything they know is going to be erased. Every memory they've ever made, every face they've ever seen, and every bit of land they've ever touched. It's all over. And for all they know, they are powerless to stop it. All they think to do is turn to their loved ones, their neighbors, and confess to every bad thing they've ever done, no matter how insignificant.
Iroh, the last time we played hide and seek, I kept peeking. Forgive me?
Or how disgusting.
Sorry from Lady Light. Once at my restaurant, I accidentally fed you something I shouldn't have.
Hey? Something you shouldn't have?
It was.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Or how scandalous.
Forgive me, Melvin.
For what, Doctor?
Once I confused you with another patient, and I yanked out your back molars.
So that's why corn on the cob was so difficult.
And it's this moment of pure, unbridled humanity that sticks with me. More than any of the awful things this town has done. The last act of a doomed people is to seek out the people they've wronged and try to make up for it with the little bit of time they have left. It's endearing enough to turn the heels of Escargoon and eventually Deity. And if it can convince those two fucking idiots to do anything good, that alone speaks volumes. This scene, along with another one very shortly after that I will have a lot more to say about in a tangentially related video all about DDD, is one of a plethora of emotional moments in the show that have enough impact to sting even with dozens of repeat viewings. This is not a group of juvenile, implicit naysayers who reject change in all forms out of principle. This is not a group of cold-hearted heathens who have never known such a thing as empathy or compassion. This is a group of people. Vulnerable, imperfect people. They believe in the goodwill of those around them. They believe in forgiveness, in camaraderie, in the love of all things good and proper. However, it is unfortunate that the threat of complete annihilation is basically mandatory to get them to admit it, to practice it, and to mean it with their whole chest. Society has its ways of keeping people nasty. By prioritizing the self above all else, the forces of love, compassion, and forgiveness are snuffed out. Every Cappy lives for themselves and no one else. They make decisions that benefit them, no matter who else has to suffer. And those who get slighted, they just have to suck it up. Because it happens to everyone. That is a uniquely societal trait. A stupid societal trait. To complain about a Cappy is the same as complaining about a coworker you barely talk to, who keeps doing things you don't like, despite all the notes you keep leaving out. Or this woman who is making a fuss in the supermarket, demanding a higher-up over something ultimately pointless. Or this family who drove super slow on the freeway and caused you to miss an exit. All in different ways, these people all said the exact same thing. I only really care about myself right now. But it's important to acknowledge that you have absolutely no idea what this person might be going through. Your coworker might be working through a breakup and just wants things done the way they usually are. The supermarket woman might have just gotten back from a school meeting and now has to deal with their kid being suspended for a week. That family might have been on their way to a funeral. You can't possibly know every facet of a person's life, but acknowledging the possibility of a silent struggle is better for all parties involved, even if the possibility does not excuse or justify how their actions affected you. It challenges the status quo. It eliminates the selfishness present in us all. The Cappies do not understand this, and so the cycle repeats, ever and ever winding down, dragging everyone into the whirlpool of closeted individuality. And the only cure is compassion, empathy, the willingness to look at your neighbor, even when it hurts, and understand them. Many people in the show encourage this line of thinking on a case-by-case basis. But if you ask me, there's no better cure to Cappy Town's individualist plague than the sensation of a collaborative victory, the triumph over evil, and the warmth that comes from the dawn of a new era. Wow, how long have I been in here? Fuck. Okay, I'll make this quick. Just the same as every video like this that I make, I can't force you to like any of these characters, and that's not really my goal. It's pretty unrealistic to assume that a paraphrased recap of some random episode is enough to make people side with the useless policeman character. I know my videos have had a pretty decent track record when it comes to changing people's minds on things, you know, when YouTube decides to actually pump my shit through the fucking algorithm worth a damn, but this video is different. It's more about the lost message of the Cappies, the neglected wisdom of their intentionally flawed ways of thinking and living that challenges you to find it in your own life and work against it. The angle that they deserve to be viewed from, which, when you really think about it, is not very different from the current viewing angle at all. The Cappies suck. I still stand by that, even after everything I said. But I don't have to go against that when I say how much I love them regardless. These 2 points can coexist. That is my thesis. I hate to indoctrinate everyone here into quote-unquote hippie culture, but we all need to be more compassionate to one another, more understanding of those around us. Gatekeeping your heart is the most effective soul killer, and the people in power are trying everything they can to make that option seem more appealing than it is. When you fall into that trap, you are no better than the metaphorical Cappies you despise in your life, because they are out there. So, spread the love. Show it to someone you wouldn't otherwise. You'll make fast friends, and you might even direct a few minds back onto the right path. It's what Kirby would do. Has done. I mean, for God's sake, this whole series runs on the power of friendship and love. It's the reason I end every video with some declaration of love. Because I love each and every one of you so very much. God, come on, you know it's not over yet. I gotta talk about this video's soundtrack. It'll be out on Bandcamp either as this video goes live or sometime after, and on YouTube as a full album upload sometime within the next week. This one took a lot more out of me, and as such, I think these are some of my best works so far. I'll also be releasing some retooled songs that were meant for my massive deep dive project that Content ID completely fucked over. Nothing too drastic, but some of them definitely needed, I'll tell you that much up front. And also, you know, I need a good reason for people to actually listen to and maybe buy my stuff on Bandcamp. It's all free regardless, though. No need to pay unless you want to, and you want to support me. It's finally over. The end card is here, 5 months in the making. I'm not quite done with this project. I'm also contemplating making a behind-the-scenes style bonus episode where I talk about all the stuff that I wanted more people to be aware of, or stuff that didn't make the final cut, and things like that. I'm still writing the script, but I'm also contemplating a live stream. It's a very flexible idea. I know what I want to talk about, but how I do that is still up in the air. So I'm looking to the comments for suggestions or questions or anything of the sort. Think of it like a Q&A before the big 1K Q&A. I want to know what you guys want me to talk about. If you're not interested in that, though, you might be interested in my next big project. The next video I work on is going to be about a fan game idea I've been developing for a while now. Then I'll talk about Amazing Mirror, then I'll talk about some other anime-related topic, and I haven't planned out anything past that yet. But regardless, I want to end this off by saying the typical YouTuber schlock. If you like what I do, want to see more of it, yada yada, hit the sub bell, conditioning, blah blah. I'm really close to 1K and I have big plans. You get the idea. I love you all. More great things are coming. Stay tuned, and I'll see you around.